organization, Statens Konstrad, Swedish art agency, was formed in 1937, so it's quite old. Even in a European context, it's kind of old. And I think the main initiative came from the Falck, from the civil society, articulating an idea that they wanted to incorporate artists to a greater extent in society. So that was the starting point. And from start, it was was 1% of the building cost that should go to artistic initiative. And of course, in the beginning, it's for the first 50 years, I think, or 40 years, it was extremely based on public sculptures. And now, since 2000, the mission actually developed further into temporary projects. I work mainly with the permanent projects. And that's, of course, a quite funny title to say permanent projects in the public space, because nothing is permanent in that sense, I would say. Even if you do a video thing, it could be running for 10 years. If you do a bronze sculpture, it could be there for 75 to 80 years, and then by political or other reason, the sculpture will be removed, actually. Or I always negotiate my projects with the landlords, those who actually are in charge for the building, and they have to take over the art piece and maintain it for the rest of the time. But the third mission is, of course, to see city planning and how to engage ourselves or activities in shaping conditions for the city plans. And that's the third area that we are working with currently.
One of our three missions is to collect art, and of course Swedish art, and also art that reflects what's happening today around the world. And the collection we have already, we cannot do so much about it because it's already there. And before we did this, try to look for art or realize that art is made in other places than Western Europe and the States. We also had a project about female artists, because we realized that, I don't know the percent, but of course, like any collection, there was a much more male artists, of course, in the collection. So we made something, it was called the second wish, the
Second Museum of Wishes.
Oh, our wishes,
yeah.
Yes. It was like a wishful thinking about the museum. So we are very happy to have them now in the collection.
During this time and after doing these purchases also, there was a lot of discussions all around in media and definitely about researchers in Sweden thinking about feminist issues. Is this the right way to do it? So, and the Moderna Museet always said, of course, we cannot fill all the gaps, but at least we can do something. We can show a good way of trying to show that what we did before was not the best way of purchasing art for the museum.
Yes, it was also a question of interpretation. You have to have the artworks in the collection. You buy artworks, you collect them. But then that's just one step. Then it's the other step, how to present it, how to hang it and organize it in the galleries. In what context do you present? And you can tell a story or make an interpretation in this way. So we don't have an old-fashioned way of talking about art pieces in our guided tours, and try to be more radical in the choice of what we collect. And so
That one of the main reasons that came about was that we wanted to develop education in the sense that young people learn to know artists themselves and get into the artistic processes to really understand what is it to work artistically. Not only learning about art, but how is it to work as an artist. So therefore they worked together for half a year, and it ended up in different exhibitions, or it could be anything. It could be a catwalk, or it could be performances, or it could be anything like that.
for one thing, we have beautiful, here in the house, we have children and family workshops, beautiful rooms and nice rooms. But one idea was to not only be in the workshops, but the project should be in the whole museum.
Short, Raketa is a free-flying, free-falling institute, and we are people from different areas. So we are artists, architects, researchers, poets, filmmakers, photographers from different areas. And that's really the idea, that it's this combination of people with different skills and different entrances. And we are working mainly with the project we are creating meeting places and work in the public space, and that's our common interest, really, in different ways. So we are doing seminars and talks and exhibitions and commissions, and we have a small publishing house called Raketa Press, so we also we love to print, and we also have a book in pipeline now, which Julia also is part of. It's coming up, and we're going to have release on that book during the Biennale in Moscow. So a lot to do about that book. Raketa is an experiment and a lab, ongoing experiment and a lab. And we have this location, but we are mainly working in other places, abroad or in small places in Sweden, or I mean also in Stockholm, of course. But this is our headquarters. And we use this for different things. Of course, we have it as a friend in residency that people can come and stay, and exhibitions and film evenings and discussions and dinners or whatever. We use it in different ways. And then, of course, we are cooperating with different people in different projects, and and also different people in Raketa are working with different projects depending on budget or time schedule or what people are doing to work. I mean, I'm an artist, and Cecilia also, and of course we have different stories why. And every person has his own story.
I just been part for like 4 years or something, and it was.
We met in New York.
No, I mean we.
Well,
no. We met.
I mean, why or how or of necessity. There was no other way. So it was really necessary. And then how do we meet each other? Really randomly. Meeting in different... and just start to work together. And that's also how people are joining or leaving or coming back or whatever. So it's no specially...
But you started like year 2000 or something?
Yeah, it started up year 2000, so it has really... But of course it has been changing a lot. It has. And I think it's getting more and more interesting.
Like own organism.
Yeah. And I mean, the guests who are coming, I mean, many of the guests who are coming are then, after their visit, they are part of Raketa. I mean, that's been the case many times. So...
I think where people
Experiment.
can see it like their own contribution or what they can add or what they get out of it as well. Like
if it's
how you
interesting. And,
can be part of it.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, but we also did a project in Kaliningrad, 2001. We were invited to a project called Art Against Torture, Art Against Execution, and that was really the hardcore start up, and we cooperated with NCCA in Kaliningrad, and they were really brilliant and smart and so close and so far away. I mean, we are neighbors, it's just a small water between. So that was really, really, really interesting, and and just one thing is leading to another, and we just met so interesting and nice people. But of course we also done projects in other places. We've been in Colombia, building a small museum, meeting place, school. We work a lot with pedagogic knowledge exchange, museums, institutions, archive. So we've been in Colombia working with a small village with women who had nothing and building an eco-village. When we work with commissions, we want to work together with the people who are going to use it, of course. We don't want to make a sculpture and put it there, but we really want to be there. So we spend 1 year together with the kids and the employees, mainly the kids, of course, because it was going to be their thing. And we had workshops for 1 year, and about sustainability, and about democracy, and about wood, and about the nature, and they were really cool and smart, and they show us the way. So this path is really absolutely cooperation with the kids. And there we also been working for 1 year, and it's a garden in a garden, and there we are working with elderly people, and we are building, we are making interviews with the people living in that house. It's the municipality of that city. And they have told us stories. So now we are editing stories and a lot of stories. And the house is built where there was a garden before. So, and they have been living in that area, so we wanted to have stories about, but what was here before this house was built, and do you remember, and did you go to this park? And so we have collected a lot of stories, and then we have built benches of oak, because there are a lot of oak trees around. So we are building big benches. We're also building a water tap, so you can drink water in the garden, and we are cooperating with a gardener and an arborist from the south, picking up old plants that the old people have told us about. You know, what's your favorite flower, or do you remember what kind of apple did you pick when you were a kid? And so we have collected old flowers, old, and we are creating a meadow. So we are doing some kind of wilder garden in the garden. And the bench is gonna hold these stories, so you can push a button and no, you can. So it's a sound piece as well. So I mean, that's also an example of how we want to work with the commissions. that we want to do it together with the people who are going to, so they feel that this is ours.
Yeah, up and we
Yeah.
get down somewhere. Yeah.
Free falling, free flying,
Yeah.
mainly falling, but also sometimes flying. But it's really like that.